Transforming the overworld, Minecraft's new update has changed the game with beautiful new plants, animal updates, and more, so here's 20 things added to 1.21.5. I remember a time when concept art wasn't a commitment, but I guess that's no longer the case, as Mojang has finally added the new Firefly bush into the game. These bushes really shine at night. Well, literally, they put out a light level of 2, as well as having these amazing firefly particles generate around them. With even just a few bushes here, you can see there's a really large amount of these small fireflies. Although they do not have the classic 2-pixel design that they previously were going to have, just being a singular pixel texture, it still gives us some great ambiance. So we have these beautiful plants like little beacons lighting up the biomes. You can see here they also generate inside of the mangrove swamp. They can be found all over the place, in fact in almost every overworld biome that has grass that generates inside of it. If it's next to water, Minecraft Java and Minecraft Bedrock have a major parity feature that's been added in this update, and that relates to sheep. If we shear these sheep, and we are in Java Edition, you can see that the bits of wool that remain on the sheep after we've sheared them are still the color that their wool is, so we can still tell this is a magenta sheep, a purple sheep, a blue sheep, and a pink sheep. This is a very major change, even if it doesn't exactly look like it, because it's a huge texture difference in terms of being able to farm your sheep and tell what color they are. This white sheep here, if you don't play Java, is what every single sheep in Java would look like when it's sheared until it regrew its wool. But now we have this interesting effect of the leftover wool being their color, and it even establishes the idea more that when you dye a sheep, you're changing its very level of what type of wool it grows. Just don't look too long at the red sheep's sheared texture. We have 3 beautiful new chicken textures in this update, but the perfect thing to complement this feature is 3 new egg colors. So now we have the blue egg, which will spawn exclusively baby cold chickens, and is dropped only by the cold chicken. We have the brown egg, which is dropped exclusively by the warm chicken, and will only ever spawn baby warm chickens. And then of course we still have the standard egg, which is dropped by the temperate chicken, and gives us the old chicken texture. Now you'll only get each egg type from each different chicken, but it also means that if you get enough eggs from a different biome, you can really easily move chickens from one area to another, or let's say share with your friends one of the different varieties of chickens you already have. These 3 cool looking eggs that are now in the game all function the exact same way, except for the color of chicken that they spawn. A few updates ago, the Wandering Trader was improved, so that you can actually sell items to it, and it'll offer you some other interesting items to buy. But that has been increased. So now they will sell logs. This is a brand new trade. They also have more trades of each type, and some of their trade prices have been made cheaper. They even sell an enchanted iron pick and the invisibility potion that they use at night as a chance in their trade menu. So you can see here we can now buy logs, as well as buying a higher number of at least some of the items that are being sold here by the Wandering Trader. So next time you see one of these mobs, know that Mojang is ever trying to make them more palatable to the player base, and check out some of the new and improved trades that it can offer. Now leaf litter is a very interesting item meant to indicate the more fall-themed biomes, but is actually centered around which forests can generate oak trees. So for an example, this dark forest here has the dark oak trees as well as the standard oak trees, and the whole floor of this biome is covered in the leaf litter. This texture blends especially well with the dark oak texture and the dark grass texture of this biome. Leaf litter has changed the generation of the standard forest as well. And although it is interesting to see leaves across this biome, this is a biome that hasn't changed for a long time. Now the wooded Badlands plateau you can see on the ground, although it does blend in a lot more with this grass type. We have tons of these leaf litters. You can see they generate on top of the coarse dirt even. Now Creakings were added in the update before this, but they've received an important change inside of this update. Well, it has to do with if you like to personalize and name your Creaking. You see, if let's say we want to have have Catherine, Carmen, Carl, or Caleb the Creaking, or whatever other name you want. We can choose to name these mobs. It will not despawn underneath its normal despawn conditions. It becomes day and the zombie is burning up. This Creaking here did not despawn. Alright, so I've set up 9 Creaking hearts and we have 9 Creakings here. It's daytime and you can see of those 9 Creakings, all of them disappeared, except for 4. These are those 4 Creakings that we named earlier, because this new feature is you can have pet Creakings, naming them, letting them last through the day, and be guards for you. Bushes have been added to Minecraft. If we right click the bush, it doesn't make berries, but it actually duplicates the bush. And you can see here every time we click it, you can see it'll have there only be a bush, one on each side, forming a plus shape. But what this means is that we can continue to bone meal these bushes to spread them as much as we want. Grab some shears and collect all of these bush items. Though a type of bush that you do not need shears to collect, it can be dropped on its own, is the Firefly bush. And the Firefly bush actually shares this same property. So if we right click on the Firefly bush, there'll be another Firefly bush that generates to the side, allowing us also, if we have a lot of bone meal, to spread and quickly cover an area in this amazing new bush. In the Minecraft 1.20 update, we had the Camels be added to the game, and the only place they would generate is 1 camel per center of each desert village. And this is certainly a far too restrictive way for this very interesting mob to spawn. Actually, if we venture straight into the desert, like what I'm doing right now, we could find a friend for our camel here. That's because now camels can spawn anywhere inside of desert biomes. Though this change certainly does not mean that camels are now more common, as it took me a very long time to go through this desert until we finally found a camel that actually spawned here at this ruined portal. So I'm glad it hasn't burnt up. So you can see now that if we have even just a desert, we can find ourselves camels to breed and ride, which is a great and realistic change, and also gives the desert biome one more mob that can naturally generate in it. The meadow may be an underrated biome in the game, but either way it's one of the most flower filled. You can notice here there is a new flower type that's generating. That's the Wildflowers, an appropriate name I suppose for flowers generating inside of the wild. Although I guess every flower in the game is sort of a wildflower. Either way, these items function very similarly to pink petals and also the leaf litter, meaning that we can make patterns out of them, but they're not just found inside of the meadow. This bordering biome right over here, the birch forest as well as the old growth birch forest, also generates a ton of this new flower. This is a little bit like the birch forest update that we were promised for Minecraft 1.19. And it gives us a beautiful new flower that generates almost uniquely to this biome, other than the meadow. This combined with the new falling logs that are in this update as well, and even the falling leaves, the birch forest now has a decent upgrade from where it was before. I mentioned earlier how Creakings are now able to be name tagged and sustained through the day. It's a change to the Creaking hearts themselves, because there now is a dormant and non-dormant state to the Creaking heart. You see, the texture used to always look exactly as it does right now. But with the change in this newest update, let's say we were to name a couple Creakings. And let's start by actually punching some of them, and you may notice we get a little bit of resin spreading. But now, let's have the time switch to day. And you can see here those 2 Creakings despawned, though another thing has changed. The Creaking hearts are now dormant. This means 2 things. The first one is it cannot spawn a new Creaking, so if one of these Creakings were to despawn, a new one would not generate. But the second thing is, if we hit these Creakings, it will not make any new resin. So you're only able to make new resin during the night. Desert biomes like the mesa and well the desert have been upgraded with the new tall and short dry grass. You see, short and tall grass, which require shears to gather, and also do not drop anything, not even seeds when broken, can actually be spread and bone mealed. If we're to bone meal this tall dry grass, a short dry grass will generate next to it, one in each cardinal direction just like the bush, but that doesn't give us any more tall dry grass. However, if we bone meal the short dry grass, that will turn into tall dry grass. So it actually takes 2 bone meal to get a tall dry grass. But you can see if we double bone meal like this, we can still spread fairly quickly all the different grass that's around here and create a large patch. Tall and short dry grass are certainly not a rare item, but if you want more of them, this is a really interesting way of growing it. Now we're in the end dimension for no other reason than this has to do with creative mode, and I thought I'd fly around here. This change has to do with the new spawn egg textures. This is a kind of crazy change, integrating a huge number of new textures into the game. You can see here everything from Malays through to pigs, but there's far more textures than that. There's all of these ones down here too. Some of these textures I think are hilarious, like let's say the sheep, which is literally just the sheep. And all of these definitely have some humor to them, with some being better than others, and there definitely being some cursed varieties of some. The creeper I noticed is literally just a creeper face, but every other spawn egg texture here I can see actually has no eyes to it at all, which is rather strange. In fact, the only one of these spawn egg textures which seem to have eyes is the strange dark eyes of the tadpole. The flower forest has been made much more unique inside of this update, and that's for 2 reasons. The first one is it does not have leaf litter that generates inside of it, at least not yet. So because of this, all the flowers generate on their own, and there's no leaf litter polluting the area. So if you do want a standard forest biome without leaf litter, this is the only one that really has that effect. Though the other thing that makes it a lot different from other forest biomes is this right here, the fallen birch tree. You see, inside of the flower forest, there are only fallen birch trees. There are no fallen oak. Versus the standard forest, there's fallen birch and fallen oak, but in the flower forest, there's only fallen birch. And it's strange, as there is just as many oak trees in this biome as there is in the standard forest. Saddles can no longer turn invisible. If we throw an invisibility potion at this horse, we have a hilarious floating saddle. You could even see the head of the horse go down to eat some grass. So the horse is obviously still there, but the saddle somehow does not receive that invisibility effect. And this is not a great thing, as it means that if you're a player trying to stealthily hide with your horse from other players, it's no longer possible. Although you can have this very funny effect of riding a sort of ghost horse, which definitely makes it look like the player is floating in the air while still in survival mode. The other change, and this does only work in creative mode for now, is that if you enchant a saddle in creative mode with thorns, it'll actually work. And saddles are now also able to display enchants. So what that means is now that we have our enchanted saddle here, that saddle on top of the horse is displaying that glint texture, and you can see that it's shiny and enchanted, not only here, but also on the part around its face, which is a really cool effect. If leaf litter hasn't made enough litter for you, you can always get more, and here's what to do. Simply shear the trees around and get lots of leaves. Just a few stacks, this is all that you need. With any type, any kind of leaf this will work. All we must do is make these furnaces burn. Putting a pile of leaves of any type in the furnace, you can see it burns. Into another item before us. Leaf litter it's creating 1 leaf to a litter, though I'm not sure why you'd want to produce leaf litter. Here's how you could, and around your world add a bit of a glitter. The black sheep of the Minecraft world are now the sheep of the snowy biome. You see, the colors of sheep that generate in each biome has changed. Unfortunately, we did not get a new sheep texture with the texture change of the other farm animals like the chicken, pig, and cow. However, we do have a change of what colors of sheep generate in which biome. So now inside of every cold biome, the primary sheep color is black, instead of white with brown and black as the secondaries. I think this is a great change, as it makes the sheep contrast a lot more with the snow around them. This feature is especially especially evident inside of the savanna biome. As you can see here, the sheep that spawn here default to brown. And the savanna biome is the main warm biome that spawns any mobs in it anyways. Probably my favorite decorative change to the warm biomes though is the cactus flower, which now generates or grows rarely on top of cactuses, and the ones not only in the mesa biome here, but also in the standard desert, adding a little bit of color that was needed into these biomes, and also a realistic feature as cactuses do have flowers. Now the cactus flower texture itself reminds me a bit of the amethyst crystal, and this isn't far off, as if we start to make a checkerboard pattern with these cactus flowers, which you notice can be planted on any block, and mixing it in with amethyst clusters, you can see how similar it looks like. To me, it almost looks like a pink crystal. So be sure to decorate with and use the beautiful new cactus flower. Mojang's been taking more care recently to make sure that all the features in the game match with each other. One of them being that bundles were recently added, and now in certain villager structures, an example here being at the leather workers, inside the chests sometimes bundles will generate inside the loot chests. I love this as bundles are not always the easiest to get as it needs string, and it means that players that are just running into a village and maybe finding a little bit of loot here and there from the village can put it away easier. But it also increases the lore a lot, as it means that theoretically villagers are using bundles, and this does sort of make sense as the villagers have a small inventory, yet can carry a decent number of items. A great addition to the lore, and incredibly useful as well. So now we have wildflowers, leaf litter, and pink petals. These items can be placed in very decorative ways. You'll notice whenever we place this, it starts on the bottom right corner of the block, then goes counterclockwise to fill up the block. This is the case no matter which angle we go, meaning that we can angle these at different directions. Now an example being, if we face forward and place 3, we've made an arch. If we do this again, changing our direction each time, we can make a circle. We can do the same thing with the wildflowers. But of course, these patterns can get much more intricate and much more useful. As an example, placing 2 on the side of the block here and going forward, you see we can place the leaf litter inside of here. This forms a very interesting and unique pattern, and this is just one of the incredibly large number of patterns that are now possible by combining leaf litter, wildflowers, and pink petals. As a final fun change, beacons have been improved in terms of the range they have of their beam. So if we make a beacon base here and place down a beacon, then power it up with any effect, it doesn't really matter, and the power itself is not stronger, but the beam visually is much stronger. You see, the beacon beam used to disappear when you were 16 chunks away from it or further, but now that's been improved. So it'll not disappear until it is 32 chunks away, as we are getting incredibly far from it, but it is still incredibly visible on our screen. In fact, all the way to the point where it renders out, we can see that beacon beam. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to press the like button, subscribe to see more content like this, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!